When Final Fantasy Explorers was announced for the 3DS, I took a liking to it. While I may not be a huge fan of the console Final Fantasy games as of late, the handheld ones are always a fun experience that reminded me of the classic roots of the series. Combining the Final Fantasy world with elements of Monster Hunter sounds like a genius idea on paper, but the execution leaves a lot to be desired in the final product. Final Fantasy Explorers isn't a story-driven game like a traditional RPG, instead using a baseline to push you along in your missions. You're an explorer seeking out crystals that are scattered throughout the island, all while doing quests along the way. The quests are the important part of the game and range in terms of difficulty and missions, from defeating a certain monster to gathering items. The lack of an interesting story doesn't necessarily hurt the game since it's not a traditional Final Fantasy entry, but something more interesting could have easily been done. The gameplay is the bread and butter of the experience, and taking a page from Monster Hunter, your character is very customizable. From sex to job class, it can all be adjusted to the player's liking, and there's a good level of customization here. There are over 20 job classes such as white mages and knights to more refined classes like samurais and dark knights. Each job class allows you access to different items and weapons, along with different abilities. Abilities are a core part of the game as they grant you access to different attacks and spells that are essential in battle. The game has a main hub town called Libertas, where you get your quests, item shop, and more. Aside from your main quest, there are sub-quests that can be done at any time during a main quest, which grant you different rewards. Also, you can adjust the difficulty of the main quest to grant you more rewards as well if you're feeling adventurous. Once you choose your gear and mission, you set out on the island to attack your quest. Our first main problem with the game is realized at this point. The gameplay is slow. Your character moves too slow to be traversing this large landscape. You could run by holding the B button, but that detracts from your AP gauge. Your AP gauge gets refilled by either doing basic attacks or by waiting, but it just seems strange that the run is so necessary that you constantly use it, yet constantly drains your AP meter. To use a normal attack, you press Y, and pressing X will bring up your items to use in battle. Your normal attack isn't your main focus though, as your abilities are what you will find yourself using most of the time against larger creatures. Your AP gauge is also impacted by using this, so a variety of normal attacks and a lack of running is needed to keep things flowing. By holding the L or R trigger and selecting a button press, you can use your various abilities, all of which you can map to whatever button you choose. It gets a little clunky in the heat of the battle, but it gets the job done. Using your abilities will also build up another meter, the resonance meter. The higher this number is, the more impact your abilities will have. If your meter is built high enough, you'll get a crystal surge, which vary in effect and impact. Some make your defense stronger, some make your melee stronger, and so on. With all that out of the way, once you start playing the game, you realize it's just not that fun. Aside from the slow character movement, there is a slow frame rate and lots of slowdown issues. Battling creatures feels imprecise and clunky and never really exciting. While the game takes a ton of inspiration from Monster Hunter, they didn't add a jump like in that game. This makes traveling a pain because you have to walk around certain areas to access other areas, and it's just not very intuitive. Also, the game has a horrendous map that you cannot control, so it's more of a guessing game as to where you're walking to next. Along with the frame rate and slowdown, enemy animations are strange at best, and the draw-in distance isn't very good either. It's a shame because some of the locations look really good, but seeing oddly animated enemies inhabit these areas really draws you out of the game. There are a lot of muddy textures too, and while the 3DS isn't a graphical powerhouse, the game that this draws inspiration from looks a lot better in almost every aspect. I thought the saving grace would be the online multiplayer, which is heavily touted, but it can only save the game so much. It's pretty standard stuff, doing the same missions you were doing in solo, just with other people. There are a few text options, but no in-game chat. Still, the text options are sufficient enough most of the time. The frame rate does stutter even more while playing online with others, and if you can't find a friend, you can also breed monsters, and up to 3 of them can battle with you. This was an interesting feature, and I did like the fact that you could crossbreed and create hybrids with different abilities. At the end of the day though, Final Fantasy Explorers just feels shallow. It's not that it's a bad game, it's just painfully average in almost every respect. With some more graphical polish and more unique things to keep it in line with the Final Fantasy universe, I think this game could have been a huge success. If you're a Monster Hunter or Final Fantasy diehard and want something new to play, this might fill the void for a little while. But at the end of the day, it honestly just feels like a poor man's attempt at Monster Hunter.